The following news flash is brought to you by the Lone Star Lowdown, providing your daily bulletins for the commodities market. Today in history, news updates, and the inside scoop into the tides of the alternative. Markets for Wednesday, March 2nd, 2016 are currently trading with gold at $1,240 an ounce, silver $14.98 an ounce, Texas crude $34.40 a barrel, and Bitcoin is currently sitting at about 429 U.S. currency. Today in history, the year 1807, the U.S. Congress passes an act to prohibit the importation of slaves into any port or place within the jurisdiction of the United States. However, the widespread trade of slaves within the South was not prohibited since the children of slaves automatically became slaves themselves. The act prohibiting importation of slaves of 1807 went into effect January 1st, 1808. The beginning of U.S. abolition was today in history. In recent news, President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama will both appear later this month at South by Southwest. The president is scheduled to take part in a discussion on March 11th with Evan Smith, editor of the Texas Tribune, on civic engagement and the role of innovative technology in increasing participation in politics and even solving major problems like climate change. On March 16th, the First Lady will be discussing her Let Girls Learn initiative, which aims to help an estimated 62 million girls around the world have access to basic higher education. This will make the Obamas the first president and First Lady to appear at South by Southwest in its 30-year history. Lawyer Jose Refugio Rodriguez said today that his client, drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, said he wants to be extradited as soon as possible to the United States because guards at the Mexican maximum security prison aren't letting him sleep. Mr. Rodriguez is wanting to negotiate with the U.S. authorities for a lighter sentence and a stay at a medium security prison. Instead, Radio Formula reported El Chapo fears that his health will worsen because of the isolated conditions in the Mexican prison and the possibility that the lack of sleep could cause a heart attack or a stroke. The process of extradition may take up to a year. The world's biggest seller of corn and soybean seeds and the maker of Roundup weed killer, Monsanto Corporation, issued a profit warning today. They are forecasting a cut to the midpoint of its fiscal 2006 profit by at least 11%. This is after they announced laying off 3,600 employees, roughly 16% of its global workforce. Monsanto shares recently went down 7.5% and have shed a total of 29% during the past year. This is Rick Brody with your lowdown for March 2nd, 2016.
Good evening. Welcome to the Logos Radio Network and all of our wonderful affiliates. You hearing me there? You give me some funny sign language there. Okay.
It's called point it straight at you.
Okay. All righty. We'll do that. Now, all these statements and information on this program has not been evaluated by the FDA. I know you're getting tired of hearing that, but they require that we have to say that. Now, nothing stated or presented on this program should be considered anything accurate and or medical advice to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any disease. It is actually intended for Leland,
your entertainment and amusement purposes only.
And I hope we're entertaining you and amusing you. And as always, coming to you live from the studios, Studio 1A at Brave New Books. And anytime you're here, just come on by and say hello. We'd love to hear from you. This is a call-in show. And our telephone number is 512-646-1984. So I'd like to thank everyone that's been helping us out here at the Logos Radio Network. I had a young lady from the West Coast that texted me, and I was trying to find her text to show it to Nancy, said that she made a donation online for the Logos Radio Network.
Very nice.
And she said thank you for letting her know about that, because she definitely wanted to support the network and all the wonderful things that the network is doing for people. And, it's all about sharing and caring, and that's what we do best around here.
I learned so much from this network. So many leads to other information, so much amusement.
And entertainment.
Yeah,
where else can you get this kind of amusement and entertainment for free?
It's true. And, I don't have much, but I have earmarked a little bit. What I've started doing is making a little envelope of my ones and stuff, and I'm saving them up until they're big enough to give them to the radio station. But, even if you only have a little bit, boy, it's sure going to cost you less than Netflix and all the other stuff. That there's nothing on there that amuses me anymore. Fiction does not amuse me. Only reality amuses me now.
Well,
what am I going to do with myself, Gary?
I don't know. I'll tell you what. It's something that we thoroughly enjoy sharing with you. And of course, I guess everybody knows that the president is coming to town.
Obama Apocalypse Part 1, South by Southwest edition.
Yeah, and I didn't realize until mid part of last week that his wife is also going to be.
Yeah, me complaining about it. Obama Apocalypse South by Southwest edition Part 2.
Yeah.
Well, they're taking up 2 weekends because he's coming one and she's coming the next.
Well, the Wednesday, the first of each. But so it's the most heavily traveled days of South by Southwest, the beginning of Interactive and then the beginning of music.
Okay.
So I hope you have all these rich celebrities in their private planes. They get royally pissed off because they can't fly in Austin because there's going to be a temporary flight restriction up every time there's a sitting president or first lady in the area.
It's in the private plane area, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. You have all of South by Southwest traffic, and then you have all of Obama's roadblock traffic. You combine those two because remember last July when Robert Rodriguez brought Obama here to his castle for a fundraiser, so the FBI looked the other way with the hundreds of millions of dollars that were embezzled on El Rey, Sin City, the Machete movies, you name it.
Could we helicopter him around instead of having him drive?
That would have to be Marine One, and that would also not work because you don't have any place to land because helicopters create a lot of downdraft, and they'll rip all the. You need to have a large area,
right?
So the rotors don't clip anything. 2, you have to make sure that it's clear of anything that is.
Okay, but we could land him at Breckenridge and then take him from there instead of taking him all the way from the airport and closing everything down from here to the airport.
So you're closing down the only hospital, which, by the way, our tax dollars are paying to replace, not supplement. So you're taking a 300-bed hospital, which was recently remodeled, and you're going to knock it down to replace it with another 300-bed hospital, which we're paying the taxes to run the medical school, instead of adding to it. For a city that's 1 million population, we don't have that many hospital beds.
Can we shoot him out of a cannon?
Well,
to the sun, yes. Now you're talking.
Why couldn't he fly into Killeen and take a motor pool from there?
Well, that would even be worse because then you'd be shutting down Round Rock and Georgetown and you would still have the TFR. The TFR is not where the plane lands; it's where the president is. So you'd have to have a moving TFR. That's not cool. Or 2 TFRs.
So we should talk about methods to deal with road rage and how to deal with high blood pressure.
It's called Go to Specs on the Thursday. Buy a bunch of liquor, drink yourself silly, so you're passed out through probably Saturday or Sunday.
Okay, so you're not saying get in the car.
Here's the last go around. He had I-35 shut down
for hours,
and people couldn't even get off. And it's just amazing that people didn't have car failures and get heat stroke because this was in the middle of July.
Well, hey, this brings up a point. Something, he broke in line over there at Franklin's Barbecue.
I was just about ready to bring up. And he goes, well, I will pay for the next person in line. I'm like, the person that was going to get his barbecue anyways, what about the poor schmuck at the end of the line?
How about the next 285 of them that have been sitting here since 4 o'clock this morning?
If you want to tick off a Texan, cut in the barbecue line.
Oh, man.
I have not eaten at Franklin since. I have gone to Terry Black's. I've also gone to Fat Sal's.
Now, Terry Black's, is that the one that's north?
That's the one which all the hippies and all the liberals complained about the barbecue smoke.
The big one down there.
The one that so it's based in Lockhart, but the one that's on Barton Springs Road, and the one that they almost banned barbecue in the state in the city of Austin because of they would have had to put catalytic converters on the smokestacks, which would have affected the flavor, and it would just ruin barbecue.
Yeah,
and the thing is that those things aren't cheap either. So barbecue's expensive enough as is. So instead of $20 for a plate of ribs, it'll be $40. Come on,
raising the price of food.
The reason why I was bringing that up, now we have Cooper's here in town. I'm wondering if he's going to get special considerations over at Cooper's. Surely he knows about Cooper's.
Well, I don't see Todd Jeffries eating there anymore if that's the case. In fact, the Todd and Don love on KLBJ's morning show, KLJ News Radio AM. They love Cooper's Barbecue. Of course, it took them forever to build it.
I wonder how healthy smoke is. I love smoke flavor.
This is coming from somebody that smokes cigarettes.
Well, yes, but I mean, I can't buy smoke flavoring to add to things because it's got something in it that MSG.
So use the real. So use the real deal. Use the real barbecue smoke. Don't use the MSG.
Well, how do you find that? Because it's
called. You go and you buy a pit
Oh,
and you
okay.
get charcoal,
And you
and then
smoke
you
it.
spend about 10 hours
Okay.
smoking your meat.
Okay, and
that's how you do it.
And I wonder how
low and slow. That's what low and slow. Not
Yeah,
slow. Slow and slow. That's what barbecue is.
Smo might do it.
What most people call barbecuing is actually grilling.
Well, I understand that the black stuff is not that good for us. Although I love the black, cooked sugar. I guess that's what it is. Mainly, it's the barbecue sauce that it gets.
And you can be healthy as you want, and then you get hit by a car. So your point.
Huh.
Look at Andy Kaufman. He had large cell carcinoma for some stupid reason,
Thank you very
and
much.
all he did was eat nuts and fruits all day.
Yeah.
Well, but Dr. Wallach is talking a lot about how important the wood ash is in our soils and that kind of stuff. And I'm just wondering if we're getting anything from the smoke. Maybe smoked stuff isn't bad for you. They told us that meat was bad for you. They told us cholesterol was bad for you. In fact, I have new information on that.
How about we write that down and we ask George next week what he thinks of barbecue smoke? He'll probably say, "Oh, it's very good." I recommend some good some wood at Geo Growers in order for you to use as barbecue smoke.
Maybe. I mean, maybe.
Maybe so.
The new
I'm
dietary guidelines are out, and I do want to talk about that later because it's all low cholesterol and high carb, and they say not good for your heart at all, and affects 1 in 4 people who eat in the United States. And
No, it's going from the farmer's breakfast to the skim milk cereal breakfast. Yeah, that works out just great.
And they said one of the reasons that they want us to be so high grain is because that they can put vitamins and add vitamins and minerals into the grains, into the flours. And it's one of the few ways that we're getting any vitamins at all. We're not really getting them in the food. We're getting them in the enriched flours. So they are trying to load us with a lot of flour because that's another way to slip a vitamin in there. So apparently the dietary guidelines are not very healthy, and they know it, and they've known it for a long time.
Yeah.
Drink your Diet Coke, Nancy.
No.
Drink your Diet Coke and your skim milk, and you and just forget you're getting fatter because it's supposed to be diet.
But anything carbonated has carbonic acid that eats your stomach lining.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, how many people out there listening loves hummus? How about you guys?
Yeah.
You like hummus?
Yeah.
You like hummus? Yeah. Try to find, and this weekend at our favorite,
Right.
one of our favorite places,
Health food stores.
the Sprouts,
Okay.
had a hummus. One of the few and only that I found that did not have canola in it.
Oh,
every
gosh.
manufacturer of hummus, whether it's made in-house or not, has canola. And
It concerns me because I've been buying an organic hummus, which you would think then couldn't use a GMO canola, but things that are processed only have to be 95% organic to be called organic.
What about fluoridated water? Does that affect the organic rating?
It could be. I don't think so. No, I don't. It doesn't.
But it says, but you people that want to take fluoride out of the water, it's so bad for you. You need it for your teeth. Now you should go buy some toothpaste and just eat the entire tube.
Well, I'm just saying organic things can be 5% BS. They can be 5% GMO. They could be 5% MSG if they wanted to. They could, as long as they're 95% organic, anything that's processed can be called organic.
Yep.
So that's
Whole Foods loves their MSG.
yeah, MSG.
They don't know
canola
how to make
oil.
They don't know how to make a Reuben. The first problem is that you get the Reuben, the meat's brown. It's supposed to be pink. It's supposed to be corned beef or pastrami. And then you eat it. It tastes like they drowned it in vinegar. It's horrible.
Oh, maybe Obama will cut into the sandwich line at Whole Foods.
Oh, yes.
Breakfast taco line. Cut in the breakfast taco line. See if you don't get beat down.
Yeah, exactly. It's a gun-free zone. You'll just get beat with fists and feet, and your Secret Service guys can't have guns because it's a gun-free zone, right?
He's protected by guns.
And he tells us we can't be.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
and I think I'm for us being able to protect ourselves with guns. But if you think you're going to protect yourself from the government, you're pretty delusional. They can dissolve you. They can turn buildings into clouds. They can make you poop your pants.
Look at what happened. What's his face?
With sound cannons.
The Chesapeake Energy guy.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That guy died in a fiery car crash, and I thought it was so wrong, so horrible. That's horrible. That's horrible. And then I saw that he was the father of fracking, and I was like, oh, frack that guy. Let him burn, baby, burn. I'm such a hypocrite. I was like, oh, that's horrible. And then I found out it was him.
Well, now, Nancy, I'm a little confused because I've got a real good friend that he owned all the mineral rights from Louisiana to the other end of Texas there on the Gulf Coast.
Whoa.
And George Mitchell's his name.
Wow.
And I understood that he was the father of fracking. So I guess it's a little bit of confusing.
Well, this
here.
guy may be the uncle of fracking then.
He's a mother fracker.
Yes, he is.
All right, well, we're coming up on our first break. This is the Logos Radio Network. I'm Gary Hanna.
I'm Leland Freeman.
I'm Nancy Reed.
And we'll catch you after the break. Thanks for joining us tonight.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
Welcome back this evening to the Logos Radio Network. and it's our wonderful affiliates. And oh, by the way, I didn't mention that this happens to be March the 7th, 2016.
That's right. You guys got about 10 days left on the Logos Radio Network fundraiser with prizes from Central Texas Gunworks, such as a Spike Skull lower receiver or a Taurus Curve, as well as prizes from My Magic Mud and All About Vapor. Each time you donate $25 to the Logos Radio Network, you can be entered to win those prizes. And I believe there is a limit on that.
Don't be embarrassed to send $2 either. I mean, whatever you got.
Whatever you can send helps keeps the light on. It is truly listener-supported radio network. And how many radio networks can you say truly listener-supported? You can't say that about NPR. They've got hidden government funding left and right. They're just taking money from the people because they know you guys are stupid to support them. But we are truly user, listener supported entirely by y'all and the select sponsors that the network has, and we greatly appreciate that.
And we want you to give from your heart, not give because you want to possibly win a prize. I mean,
well, the thing is that also, since we don't have a hidden government funding, there is no restriction on free speech on this network. That's what the cool thing about Logos is, and I think it's one of the largest nationally syndicated radio networks that is truly listener supported and allows for free speech.
I can't stand anything else anymore. I can't stand it. I tried to listen to PBS, and it's just such controlled opposition. I only listen to them to see how much they're lying and what they're pushing.
It's getting worse because if you look at older PBS shows and you look at the ones they are now, you have all these northeastern liberals from Massachusetts without a pot to take a leak in, and they got their head up their ass. Well, I mean, seriously. I mean, it's just they're in their own little world. They don't realize how everything's falling apart around them, but they're getting their bribe money. It's like, oh yeah, it's stuck like Victory Gardens, and they're probably pushing Miracle Grow, which George absolutely hates for reasons he can discuss because it basically pulls all the true nutrition out of your soil.
Well, I meant to say NPR, but PBS also is very corporately sponsored. The Pew Foundation, who's responsible for being the biggest pro-fluoride people in the country, the Annenberg Foundation, all of these New World Order foundations,
Rockefeller Foundation,
and then they still beg. I think they should have to choose. And on Sesame Street now, they have cereal commercials at the beginning and the end. They say a delicious part of this nutritious breakfast, and then they push a bowl of sugar over in front of a nutritious breakfast.
That's a bowl of high fructose corn syrup. But
the delicious part.
Should we imitate
the GMO part?
Should we imitate the NPR host? It's like, welcome back to About Your Health. I'm drinking a bunch of GMO coffee, and we're asking you to donate to keep the New World Order running.
If I could do a British accent, I think that would be more believable. But you're not supposed to believe me. You're only supposed to be amused by me anyway.
That is right.
I'm just a comic. But
actually, if you want some good coffee, you should get some Nutri-Grain coffee at Brave New Books.
But I'm a comic who has a lot of time during the day to look stuff up, and I've been looking stuff up. And we're out of time?
No, we're not out of time. It's just
hey, it goes quick.
I'll say who helps keep the show on the air is Brave New Books, Nature's Pure Organics, Hill Country Home Improvement, and Burke Superfoods.
And speaking of Nature's Pure Organics, there's a really good article in Best Years in Life, and it's the Best Years in Life, and so it's the initials for it. It's TBYIL, thebestyearsinlife.com, and I like them. Just like I like J.B. Bardot. I think they have a lot of good health articles. This one does too, and I think it's kind of for retirement people, which I guess I'm that age now because they don't look that old to me in the pictures. But they have a thing about the many health benefits of bentonite clay, and boy, they're many. And you've got the best bentonite clay. And now God
does. God in nature.
God has the best bentonite clay, and you have it dug up, and you don't do anything to ruin it until it makes it to the person.
Yep, and I can control it after that. So I just feel very honored and blessed to offer such a good product that God left with up to me and my responsibility to make sure the word gets out there. And there's a lot of believers and a lot of non-believers, but I'll stand by my guns and what I believe in.
Wait! You bought some guns finally?
Well, one of the things that I read in there that I had never read before, Gary, and I've been looking and looking. I've been looking to see if it absorbs your minerals, and I heard that I read. No, it does not absorb organic minerals. It absorbs inorganic minerals. So it can interfere with not your vitamins, but it could interfere with your pharmaceuticals.
Well, remember
that it's not to be taken near anything artificial. But this particular article says it boosts your absorption of your vitamins and minerals.
Absolutely. And when it comes to trace minerals, that's what clay is. It really is.
That's true. It talks about how many minerals are in it.
And it's back to what the purpose of it is and why was God made it for what it is that everything bad in your body has a
positive charge.
Okay, and the clay has a
negative charge.
Okay.
It's so backwards, though. It should be the other way around.
Well,
it's like left brain and right brain. I mean, most right-wingers are left-brained and most left-wingers are right-brained. Don't ask.
You know what I'm saying? The positive stuff should be good and the negative stuff should be bad.
Well,
but it's not.
I appreciate
it's not. It's the opposite.
You've got to understand, energy finds its path the quickest way to ground. And that's why when lightning strikes, it usually hits the highest object in the area. And that's
the highest object that's most conductive.
Is that how the magnetics work in the clay?
Absolutely, same thing. It's such a high negative charge that, when anything positive comes in contact with it, it just adsorbs and then absorbs.
So it draws it to it, and then it
sounds like a party pooper to me.
Well, I don't think it even has to come up against it. I think it draws it into it because it draws things through your skin and into the clay when you do a poultice or
absolutely. Keep in mind,
compress.
Here's the kind of the way it works. When it's hydrated, everything goes to the surface, and as it starts to dry up, guess what? It just absorbs it in the clay. So it encapsulates it. So when you get rid of the clay, you get rid of your problem. And I think we just discussed Nancy several times about a competitor. We're not going to mention any names, but that uses plastic. And I believe the first time you listened to them, they said that it would do a certain thing. And then the next time you listen to them, they wanted you to put the clay on there more often. Well, keep in mind, folks, when it comes to plastic and when it comes to clay doesn't really care if it's hydrated or not. This is that when it is hydrated, it accelerates it. So it starts absorbing the chemicals and the petroleum into plastic immediately. So
when it's dry, you're saying? Because the people in the store said, oh no, I think it's okay when it's dry. It's not charged yet and it shouldn't absorb the plastic. But you're saying, and you got some in plastic and it ruined it, right?
Oh, several hundred pounds.
Oh my goodness.
And it was an experience that I can tell you. That's why I'm sharing this with you. So think about it. If it's losing its charge, it's like a battery getting weak. It loses its charge because it's already started absorbing something. And
so the positive and negative charge will cancel each other out and they'll both be inert.
Right. And you remember as a kid, you take two magnets and you pull them apart.
That's what I want to do with the clay. I want to see if it'll react to a magnet.
I've never done that. We talked about that too. So
I want to try it.
Well, I'll tell you, it is what it is, folks. I know you'd like for me to make you feel happy and say, yeah, you can buy it and put it in plastic. Everything's A-okay. And boy, them metal spoons work terrific with the clay.
Well, another question I had for you, and you answered for me this week, was that whether sitting on metal shelves would affect the clay's magnetic charge, because you can't touch it to metal. But I was saying, well, it's sitting in glass on metal, and you told me that
it's an insulator. Glass is an insulator. If you look back in time and the beginning of electricity, what they used to have along railroad lines is these the cables and
the telegraph wires.
The telegraph wires.
And they use
these glass
insulators.
They're valuable now too.
Oh my God!
That's what they list the rest of the wires on. Is these glass, and now they're using ceramic insulators.
So that insulates the clay from the whatever it may be sitting on. Yeah. And then plastic is not an insulator, is it?
Well,
it's flammable.
I know rubber is an insulator.
Well, here's what you've got to realize. What would you feel more protected with, glass or plastic?
I'm just wondering if the shelf goes through the plastic, the metal shelf.
No. Well, we are coming up again on another break. Logos Radio Network. And call in at 512-646-1984.
When an orangutan refuses to go to sleep, what's a frazzled zookeeper to do? I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, back to tell you what one employee at a zoo in Poland does to cut out the monkey business at bedtime. Next.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This message is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
Michael Kraus, a 36-year-old zookeeper in Poland, had his hands full. 2 adult orangutans were driving him ape by refusing to go to sleep at night. If he gave them a fruit snack, they'd throw it around. If he tried wearing them out with play, they just got hyper. So Kraus tried reading them bedtime stories, and it worked like a lullaby. The apes got a kick out of cookbooks, especially when Kraus acted out the cooking movements. One of the apes is a big fan of German fiction, too, while the other prefers English literature. His favorite book, Pride and Prejudice. Perhaps it's time to face the fact that orangutans love Jane Austen. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht for StartPage.com, the world's most private search engine.
You're listening to the Logos Radio Network at logosradionetwork.com.
this evening at the Logos Radio Network and About Your Health. And looks like it's this segment here. We've already got a call in from Tyler from Texas. So I wonder if it's Tyler, Texas, or Tyler from Texas. Leland, would you like to get him on the line?
He's on.
Tyler, are you there?
Yes, sir. Hi. I was listening to your radio show, and I'm a new listener and first-time caller, but I had questions because I've been really interested about the clay, and I'm just really concerned, like, where to purchase a quality clay. And you were saying what it shouldn't be in, but I was wondering how should it come, and where is a good place that I could purchase some good clay? I had
that's a good question, and I can give you a real simple answer. Nature's Pure Organics is who imports the highest quality clay that's available out there. The many years of research on this, and we don't compromise the integrity of the product.
Gary owns it.
So we have different types of clay that are available. The calcium bentonite clay is the most recognizable clay. The reason why they use it more often is it has a lot of trace minerals in it, and it has a 4-to-1 ratio of absorption power.
Now you call that the Miracle Healing Clay.
The Miracle Healing Clay, yes. And then we have also, if you'd like to step it up to the next level, we have a 3-blend clay that has the calcium red clay, which is probably the only clay on this earth that has more trace minerals than any of the others, but it has very minimal swelling powers or absorption powers. And then we have the sodium bentonite clay, which is a 20-to-1 ratio. So that's part of our 3-blend. And then we have a 5-blend clay that also includes diatomaceous earth and zeolite, which zeolite is a creme de la creme of clays, but what you've got to be sure you get is the ultra micronized zeolite. It's just like when you say bentonite clay, that's generic. There's from this one source that we buy, and we buy his creme de la creme, the deepest, richest quality clay that he has from several thousand feet underground. You don't want surface clay, and that's typically the most economical, but you've got to realize it's been contaminated of millions and millions of years of contamination.
Especially the last 50.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, and, you've got to be cautious of where you buy it. And I don't care what anybody tells you. Do not believe it. You can do the test yourself. There's no such thing as putting clay in plastic and expect the best results.
It'll make it smell like plastic for one thing. But Gary has been making this, you've been having the clay shipped to you and packaging it and making it available to people because the clay is what cured your son. You used to be in TV and cable and that kind of stuff before, right?
Yeah, we were doing home automation and home theater, projection televisions before any of the big manufacturers even knew what it was.
Home automation. How much of that stuff is now obsolete?
99.9% of it now.
But you saved your son from MRSA with silver and clay, and then you became interested in providing it to other people.
Well, actually, Nancy, silver wasn't something that I was using back then.
Just the clay.
Just the clay.
Cured the MRSA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So, I didn't know the good Lord had a new mission for me in life. And I'm so grateful and thankful that he redirected me that way. My wife and I had a Cinderella story for so many years. Everything was perfect. But in life, it's a whole lot easier to go from hero to zero than it is to go from zero to hero. It's kind of like that. I try to compare it to a roller coaster ride, that excitement and all that wonderful energy you're building up to until you get to the top. And once you do reach the top, and there is always a top, once you get to the top, that slide down is very, very fast. So you can go from hero to zero in a nanosecond. And there was a purpose for it. The good Lord had a mission for me, and I'm so grateful and thankful that he's allowed me to be part of that mission.
Well, you've been researching ever since, so what else would you tell Tyler to look for? I mean, really, it's easy as just
we lost him, but hopefully he's still listening to us on the air.
Well, It's easier just to get Gary's clay than to try to find anybody else's. I don't even know of anything. I've been researching since I started working with you, which recently I started working with him too, so full disclosure. I will definitely come out to your business and help you carry the clay if you'd like to.
Absolutely.
I think that's a really good thing, important to have in stock for yourself and your employees too.
Yeah. And I'm really right now developing, along with all the other things I've been doing, a first aid kit that I personally believe everybody should have available at all times. Oh. And colloidal silver and bentonite clay are two absolutes. I'm a firm believer that you need hydrogen peroxide. I believe it's an absolute, and magnesium.
Magnesium is listed here as a natural immune modulator. The same website, The Best Years in Life, had another article about immune modulators, and magnesium is one of them. D3 also, and curcumin, black seed oil, and oleander extract is their list. But they said magnesium is probably the most important, and you've got a new colloidal magnesium. Colloidal. I keep saying colloidal. Colloidal.
Yeah. It is a colloidal magnesium. There's an oil magnesium, and then there's a colloidal magnesium. And they're both wonderful in their own special ways. Magnesium can be absorbed through your skin very well, and relieve you from pain and agony pretty darn quick when you put it on topically. But
leg cramps.
It's not so good going down when you take it in. You take it internally.
But the colloidal doesn't taste bad.
It does not taste bad,
and it doesn't sting when you put it on your skin.
And it does not sting. But one comes from deep within the earth. Actually, in what used to be Persia, it comes from 20, 30,000 feet deep, and it's the purest form of it, and still the best source of it. But not everybody knows about it. A lot of people, sadly, they think magnesium is magnesium is magnesium is magnesium. Well, this is true, but not true. There's the best way to ever absorb anything is in a liquid form. Okay. And then
that's why Tangerine comes in a powder, so you can mix it in with water or fruit juice
to become a liquid form. And then you have the capsules, second best, but not as good as liquid form. And then you have tablets. The tablets is the worst, and the reason why is they have to put so many things in there, binders. In order to bind it together, and what you purchase it for ends up being a whole lot less than what you thought you were getting. I can tell you, we will not compromise the integrity of our product to get a cheap price.
Well, and with tablets, you may not digest the entire tablet. In fact, they assume that you won't.
Isn't it mostly sand?
I don't know.
No, I don't either.
If it was silica, that would be good if it was bioavailable silica. And that's another thing you have is a colloidal silica.
Yeah, we got have just about any trace mineral in a colloidal form, and very time consuming to do these different formulas. But I'm trying to find something that can help everybody, and I don't know what to say. I get this tunnel vision, and I just won't let go. I'm just always relentless to go that extra mile because I want to make a difference in just one person's life today.
Well, and in addition to all of that, you also have the fluoride filters that take out chloramine, I believe. Is that right?
Yes.
Lots of news about chloramine in the last couple of days.
I'll tell you.
So we should talk about that when we come back. We're coming up on break, but got to have something to get the chloramine out of your water.
Yep. So there's a lot of good alternatives. So we're so grateful and thankful to have you here. Tyler, if you call back in, I apologize. I really don't know what happened.
He just dropped off. So
you answered his question.
Oh, okay. So thank you for calling in, and you can call in if you like it. 512-646-1984. And we'll get you at the break. I'm Gary Hanna.
I'm Leland Freeman.
I'm Nancy Reed.
And this program is about your health.
Easy.
Welcome back to the Logos Radio Network and our program about your health. I'm Gary Hanna.
I'm Leland Freeman.
I'm Nancy Reed.
And we're so gratefully thankful to have you join us this evening. It's another beautiful day, and thank goodness we didn't get all that rain during the day. I hope it rains. I love rain, but I want it to rain at night.
Well, the other thing is that the LCRA seems to think it's fit to release 200,000 acre feet downstream for the rice farmers, and yet Austin's still underneath a Class 2 drought restriction. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, they've been chemtrailing the tar out of us this week, and I'm wanting to build a greenhouse so that I can grow my food that's not underneath the chemtrails and underneath the rain. But one good thing about Obama coming to town, they don't chemtrail when Obama's in town.
I was just thinking about that.
TFR. That's why.
What does that mean?
The temporary flight restriction.
Oh, you think that's the only reason?
It's probably the only reason.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe so. And it's interesting how you try to keep your positive attitude when you're buzzing along on your beautiful day and look up and it's just stripy as can be. And I think one of the things I do is I declare them inert with my magical powers. Yeah. And I say that anything that comes into me can only serve my higher purpose and cannot do anything against my higher purpose to me. And I drink my calcium bentonite clay when I get home because I know that it'll take the heavy metals out. And that's mainly what it is aluminum, barium, and strontium. Yep. And, I know we talk a lot about clay, but I can't help it if clay does so many things.
Oh, I'll tell you, it does a lot of things. That's why I call it miracle healing clay.
I started studying it a month ago, and I'm still studying it, and I'm still finding out new stuff.
You find things every day, and no different in the colloidal silver. It's just that so many people just cannot comprehend how we can manufacture something at a higher ppms with all in the process. And, people are coming around and understanding that technology is not new. Tesla developed the generators years and years ago, and all I did was take a lot of his technology.
Think about the internal combustion engine's about the same age, too, and we're using that to this day.
Well, and your father worked with Tesla, didn't he?
No, he didn't work with Tesla. He worked for Texas Instruments in the research and developing department. However, that's where a lot of those schematics of Tesla's ended up. Tesla's his best friend was affiliated or associated with what is now Texas Instruments. And of course, once they changed names, they took the information and, put it in a vault somewhere. So, there's people are wondering what happened to him. Well, that's what happened to him. And, I hope not everybody's listening, especially the government, because that, I'm so.
What was that?
What was that?
Somebody was listening.
Yeah. Oh, hello. Okay. I recommend to you, if you're out there listening, that you get you some silver. And I'm really liking the colloidal gold as well. I'm finding that is really nice for my mood.
Oh, yeah. And, for different people, Nancy, it varies. 50 ppms may be fantastic for some people, and some people may need 2,000 or 3,000 ppms. Typically, what I feel most comfortable with is the 100 and the 750, and they seem to take care of just about everything.
I'm doing the 750, and I accidentally gave half of it to my landlord. Oh my goodness. He came over and he wanted some of the magnesium oil that we didn't have right now. And so I told him, well, I didn't have any more, but I would give him half of mine. And instead of giving him half of my magnesium oil, I gave him half of my gold.
Whoa.
And I charged him, whatever I thought half was. So way different in price, but that's not the issue. The issue is, dang it, I gave up a bunch of my gold.
Why is he trying to get?
And I called him immediately. I said, before you rub gold all over yourself, let me let you know that that's not the magnesium you thought it was. So he came back today and got the magnesium.
Oh, good.
And then today, you may notice that I'm very shiny today. On my way out, I was using your emu oil that has the frankincense and myrrh in it. Gosh, I love the smell of that stuff. Oh my gosh. And I'm hooked on it already. You were right. You use one bottle, and then I didn't. When I ran out, I went and got one that I'd bought for somebody else as a present and hadn't given them yet. I went and got it out of my car.
They don't know about it, right?
Got it out of my car and started. Yeah, they don't know yet. And when I was leaving the house today, I knocked something over on my dresser with my purse, didn't notice, came back in to get something else, and it was my emu oil. I had knocked it over. And I got a big card, like a plastic, I guess it was my driver's license, and a little funnel in the bottle, and I scooped it as best I could back into the bottle, into the funnel, and then I rubbed the rest of it all over myself. It's in my hair, it's on my hands, it feels good, I smell great. I've had
it's incredible. And like I say,
and my dresser looks great too. The top of my dresser looks very nice.
Shiny dresser.
It's wood, and it just soaked it right up.
So we're so blessed and thankful that we're able to help so many people. Sometimes I get a little down and out, and the day after the program, I have 4 or 5 people that either call or come by the store and says, "Hey, I heard you last night. Sure was a great program. Be sure and tell Leland and Nancy and George, fantastic job." And that's what gets you motivated. So people, I know you're out there listening, and I understand, there's a lot of different issues going on right now. And by the way, is there anybody out there, do you know anybody, Nancy, that got a ticket from actually talking on the cell phone while they're driving?
You know what? I've been teaching defensive driving now ever since that law came into effect, and I have not had one that has said and that would be a moving violation. So not as far as I know, I haven't gotten one in my defensive driving classes. And I get about 100 people a week, probably.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen one yet.
Well, I don't know.
At least not one that admitted it. Maybe that's what it is. They're afraid the class would
$500 fine. It's kind of excessive, don't you think?
Yeah.
Hey, well, isn't it up to $500?
Oh, they always go up to it.
I don't know.
It's like don't block the box.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's ridiculous. It's one of those things. I'm like, how is this actually helping things?
Well, one of the things that I'm worried about today is that there's another nuclear station that caught on fire. It's Oconee by Lake Keone in near Seneca, South Carolina. A series of explosions and a fire emergency. The crews remain on the scene. Unit 1 was shut down as a precaution, they say. Their emergency management, I think I'm saying this right. It's Oconee. Oconee?
Keep in mind that all these nuclear
Oconee?
plants are from the 1970s, that they haven't really built anything since 3 Mile Island.
And they weren't designed to last this long.
They were designed to last 20 to 30 years, and the NRC, which is the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, keeps extending their life. But the thing is it's a mechanical device, and they're just wearing out, and they're 1970s techs. So good luck trying to get parts for it, and everything's irradiated, so you can't really fix anything. But no, the NRC, they rather prosecute people like my father, who was the doctor on duty at the Heinz VA in 1986 because the technologists ordered the wrong scan, a brain scan versus a bone scan. So they inject relatively safe radiation. It was like thallium. It has like a shell that has a half-life of about 6 hours. Is a brain scan versus a bone scan. That they go after, but no, large-scale nuclear plants falling apart and exploding, nobody gets prosecuted.
Well, there's a Wigner effect, too, and if you want to hear more about that, watch some of Lorraine Moray's videos talking about what she thinks the Fukushima Wigner effect is doing to the airplanes in the sky and to all kinds of equipment in the area and all over the world, really. My mother
4 reactors plus their cooling pools.
My mother's about 30 miles from Indian Point, which is leaking tritium at 65,000 times the previous level. And my father is in South Carolina, not too near this. I looked it up on Google Maps, and he's about 300 miles from it, so not too bad. My brother is near the Hanford nuclear facility that's been horribly leaking. And new news about how Then
there's the Bay City Southwest nuclear project in Texas, which Austin Energy was one of the original investors. In fact, they actually wanted to add a couple more reactors, which were designed by Tokyo Electric Power.
Oh, my.
They wanted to add those, the same ones that were Fukushima. The ones that are in there are pressurized water reactors, which are relatively safer because what happens is that if you have to go out of your way to cause an issue, because like what happened with 3 Mile Island, where you're actually draining water out, because even if you have a drop in water intake, you still have the pressurized water in there that is absorbing the heat and nothing's boiling off. At least in the short term. I mean, eventually it does cause a meltdown, but it's versus a boiling water reactor, which if you cut the water off, all the cooling water evaporates out, and then your core is exposed, and then that's meltdown city. That's sort of what happened with Chernobyl. It was called an RG or KMB, or I don't know the exact term that those Soviet graphite moderated reactors were. But when they did this thing where they had this weird imbalance where they were draining the water as much as they were putting the water in, then they turned the water off to see how long the turbines would spin up. It caused a meltdown in about 30 seconds.
Wow. Well, there's a newer problem in the Ukraine area. So Chernobyl's Ukraine. November 23rd, Ukraine lost the power supply to Crimea was sabotaged, and it forced an emergency power unloading of several Ukrainian nuclear power plants.
Yeah, they're all the same Soviet design from the 70s and 80s.
And all nuclear power plants are dependent on electricity.
Yeah, they keep to run the water pumps.
They must have it. And we don't know what happened here. They say it's a transformer. The one in South Carolina. Emergency management said in a statement there's no potential for release.
See, that's the thing, is that what you're saying is that when nuclear plants require electricity, it's because they need to have the water pumps running constantly. Even when they're scrammed, where you used to call the control rods in to stop the reaction, you have what's called decay heat. That's what happened with 3 Mile Island, and then the idiots drained all the water off that was actually in the vessel, and that's what caused it to partially melt down. So, in fact, you need to have water running for weeks and weeks and weeks after the reactor is quote unquote shut down until the decay heat gets to a level where you can safely remove the rods. But then the rods have to remain in cooling pods
for thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's ironic. What's this nuclear power plant? Not 100 miles from here, Rose, something that where you never hear any problems.
Well, no, you did hear it. We'll catch it.
Well, that was what it's
Southwest Texas and Bay City, but we'll talk about that after the break and this news break here on the Locust Radio Network.
I'm Gary Hanna.
I'm Leland Freeman.
I'm Nancy Reed.
And we'll catch you after the break. It's a wonderful day today here at the Logos Radio Network. Getting a lot of call-ins, and we're so gratefully thankful for that. And it is a beautiful day and nice day to talk to a new friend. And we're so anxious and excited to help you in any way. And just keep on calling in. Again, it's 512-646-1984. And, I think spring break actually starts this week?
Next week. Okay. Well, it depends on what part of the country you're listening to us in, but in Austin, Texas, it starts next week. At least across the street at the University of Texas, that's when they coordinate with South by Southwest.
So that might be, if you haven't had an opportunity to call in, might be a good opportunity or a good time for you to call into the show and ask some questions or come up with some comments or suggestions.
That's the other thing, too, is that Barry's Obama Apocalypse South by Southwest Edition Part 1, he is not only do you have all the South by Southwest traffic, you have all the traffic congestion created by having a sitting president here and all the roads being closed up, but then you have all the mass exodus of the students trying to get the hell out of Austin. So you have, 25,000 people trying to leave while 40,000 people are trying to come in, and then all the roads are closed. Who thought that one out? Oh, that's right, the same people that drove Detroit into the ground.
Because of the president.
Obama Apocalypse, South by Southwest Edition, Part 1.
One of my favorite jokes on our Comedy Conspiracy Open Mic Night, which has been very fun, by the way. We're doing them on Thursday nights from 7 to 9 if you can come to Brave New Books.
Yeah, there's a lot of people coming. I don't know why one of the comics insists on the ad being changed, considering it's been very effective here on Logos.
He doesn't like me saying we'll make fools of ourselves. He said that's the opposite of what we're doing.
He's one of the few comics that actually makes me feel more depressed coming out than going in.
But I think the fools are sacred. The fools can tell the truth, and that's good for your heart and soul. And it's good for your heart and soul to hear it. And one of my favorite jokes was by a student that's been coming every week named Leo. He said, if Trump replaces Obama, orange really is the new black.
I voted for Trump NATO, and I hope he lays the smackdown to Hillary, not only in the election, but make sure she goes to federal prison.
Well, he's very orange, that's for sure. So when we're talking about I had a point in talking about all of the radiation.
That's worth $50 billion.
All of the radiation we're being exposed to. If you know any veterans that have come back from Iraq, too, they've probably been exposed to depleted uranium. And they need this calcium bentonite, or just maybe the 3-blend clay, or maybe the 5-blend clay is better for radiation removal. I know that it's got a lot of ingredients that are charged to entrap and remove radiation in it.
All right.
We just have to be careful how we say it.
Looks like we got our next caller ready.
Yeah,
Bill from Texas. Yeah. Welcome to About Your Health.
You there, Bill?
I clicked it.
Hello.
Oh, it's Jacob.
This is Jacob?
Hello?
Yes, hi, Jacob. Welcome to About Your Health.
Hey. How you guys doing today?
Absolutely fantastic. How about you?
Oh, you know what? Just like you used to say, if I was any better, I'd be twin.
Yeah. Hey, this isn't a relative of mine, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay, all right.
You have a relative named Jacob?
Yeah. Got a new grandson based on marriage. So anyway, did you have some comments, Jacob, or questions or?
Yeah, a couple. One question is is Eddie Craig's Rule of Law Radio? What am I trying to say? His jurisprudence, the $250 thing online, is that still connected to the to the fundraiser? Gosh, I'm lost of words. Is that still?
If you
if you donate $250 and all that, because I was planning to donate a good amount, but I wasn't sure if that was still connected or not. If I was going to
check LogosRadioNetwork.com. Also call into Eddie's show in about an hour.
Yeah, in about an hour.
Okay. And that's awesome that you're going to give. That's so wonderful.
Well, we're so gratefully thankful for that, because without the donations, we wouldn't be able to survive. I mean, some of these radio stations charge premium money for advertising. We don't, and it gives us an opportunity to say and do the right thing that you can't normally say on the radio, because once you start going under the rules and regulations, next thing you know it, you're restricted as to what you can say. That doesn't mean that they don't get upset and mad at us from time to time. As a matter of fact, quite often, because every time you turn around, something different has to be changed. I noticed that since I've had to change my labels, a lot of my friends and competitors have had to change their labels, ironically.
Oh, health department stuff. So did you have a question or a comment about something besides the donations? It's so cool that you're donating.
Of course. Hey, it's our way. Not a whole lot of the people in the community have a whole lot of money, but it's definitely our way of saying that we support y'all as best as we can. But it's a
way that we can actually have a voice and have some influence.
Yeah, exactly. Leland earlier was asking about there was sand inside of tablets.
Mm-hmm.
As a former vitamin department / health department, whatever you call it, health and beauty worker, I can say yes. It's under the label of titanium dioxide and silicone dioxide.
Oh, I see that on label listings.
That sounds worse than just sand.
So that's the binders for tablets.
And how does that affect the chemical makeup of the medicine?
Well, the titanium dioxide is supposed to be a binding agent, and I've asked many different representatives of many different companies of, like, I say, like, isn't this just glass, isn't this sand? And they're just, they obviously have to give me some kind of answer that is, kind of passing it off as, oh, it's fine, it's healthy, don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Trust us. We're the government.
Just trust us.
Well, it doesn't. You just have to think about the true logic of everything, and just like my grandpa always said to me, just keep it simple, stupid. So I never could figure out why my grandpa called me stupid. He said, well, I wasn't really calling you stupid, but I sure did to get your attention, didn't I?
So you worked in the field, so you probably know some inside info.
Yeah, I haven't for a bit now, but I definitely had a lot of. That's actually what kind of drew me to you guys, and as well as pharmacist Ben Fuchs, is just.
Isn't he great?
Is great, yeah.
I love him.
The talk of herbs and supplementation, and it's what drew me to Dr. Group as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love how much detail Ben Fuchs goes into on the biochemistry of things. I've learned so much from him. And I think that for me, when I first started studying this, it was very upsetting to find out all the nasty things that are in things and all the things that they let us have that probably aren't that good for us. But when you start researching all the natural stuff, then the other side comes through and you see that, oh my goodness, there's so many miraculous things in nature. Whether you call it from God or from Earth or from nature, it's that more than balances out all the nasty man-made stuff that's out there.
And we're so thankful and grateful for that. This Earth is really a miraculous thing, and just sometimes we try to make things more complicated than they need to be. Nancy, I know a main topic you wanted to cover this evening, and I'd sure like to cover too, is talking about some of the new things that we have to be concerned about in water now.
Oh my goodness. So Jacob, thanks so much for calling in today, and anytime that you have anything that you want to tell us about, we want to hear about it.
Sure. Hey, we met the other night, you and me, Nancy, so I'll try and remember things and mention it again.
Oh, at the Roger Stone thing? Or at the comedy night?
Comedy night, yeah.
Oh, I know who you are. Oh, I'm so glad you called. Very cool. Yeah, it sounds like we could talk for hours.
Yeah, there we go.
And we're here 2 hours every week, so give us a call anytime.
Oh, I hope to see you Thursday. We sure had fun last week, didn't we?
Yeah, you probably will.
Yeah. All right, thanks for calling. It's been a pleasure.
So what I was looking into, and I know that you have such a good variety of filters. And you have the refrigerator filter, which I got to get one from my mother. Here she is living in New York. The tritium's going into the Hudson River.
I'm reading about the Southwest nuclear plant right now. They started construction in 1975, went online in 1989. So it took them, 14, 15 years to build this thing.
I was protesting.
And it's been licensed for operation, has been extended to 2027 and 2028 respectively per reactor. So that is 50 years.
And they got 3 of them?
2 of them. They were going to build 2 more based off of the Fukushima reactors, but thankfully those have been canceled, the boiling water reactors. But they were having issues with the steam intake turbines back in the early 90s. There was also a whistleblower case. I'm looking at the Wikipedia, and the fact that the city of Austin, there was a referendum to sell their 16% of the plant, and the voters vote to sell their 16% of the plant. The city of Austin claims that they put it up for bids, and they only got 1 bid for $1, which so the city of Austin still owns their 16%, even though this referendum took place in 1981.
I'll give you $1. Would you like $1? Well, I was protesting it back then. I was a UT student, and I was out in 74 and 75.
Westinghouse pressurized water reactors.
I was out protesting it because I knew they didn't know what to do with the waste. And I can't even remember what my sign said, but I was out there protesting, and a physics major, if I recall correctly, came up and started yelling at me basically, and we know what we're doing, and I said, you don't know what to do with the waste, and he said, we're gonna figure that out. We're working on that, and we're gonna figure that out. Well, here we are 40 years later. Nobody's figured it out.
Well, no, I thought they were dumping that in Carlsbad Cavern.
Well, there's a place called WIP plant in in Carlsbad, New Mexico.
Right.
And it's a salt mine. And they dumped a bunch of barrels down there that have the really weaponized plutonium and all the worst of the worst. And it was the repository for the whole United States. And they had one of their barrels caught on fire on Valentine's Day of 2014, I believe. Maybe it was 2013. And they've had a huge plutonium release out there. And, they're not measuring, of course, and they're not telling us much. But they said a truck caught fire down underground. And then they said, no, some of the barrels burst because they used the wrong kind of kitty litter to pack them in. Came down to kitty litter. And, huge release from there. And they can no longer put things in there as far as I know. So they're putting them in West Texas.
Now, you know what kitty litter is made out of, do you?
What?
Bentonite clay.
Oh, my goodness.
Of course, one of the cheapest quality form. If it's a shame, they probably wouldn't use the good stuff.
Can we feed clay to our kitties, by the way?
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Oh, I gotta do that. I'm going to do that.
Well, we're coming up on a break again. This is the Logos Radio Network. We appreciate you responding this evening. Give us a call, 512-646-1984. I'm Gary Hanna.
Leland Freeman.
I'm Nancy Reed.
Okay.
This is the Logos Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Logos Radio Network and all of our wonderful affiliates. Tell you what, it's a pretty interesting time, and we should all be quite concerned about it. You've seen what's happened to Flint, Michigan, where they're getting that water that is worse than what they had.
Well, what happened was they switched the water supply, and that caused a chemical reaction with the pipes in the water mains. And so then the water mains started releasing all these toxic chemicals. So even though they switched it back to the old water supply, the damage is done.
Damage is done.
The pipes have chemically reacted, so now they have to replace the entire water system.
Well,
and nowadays they're also putting in these new houses these flexible pipes versus copper pipes.
What do you mean flexible?
Flexible plastic pipes.
Which is really, in many ways, it's a joke. Just think, all of our drinking water is coming through those PVC pipes. It's okay if they want to use them to, take the water out, but to bring it in. I mean,
does PVC have estrogen mimickers in it like other plastics?
Oh, I don't know why it wouldn't.
I don't know why it wouldn't. And then that's causing problems for men.
They also use ABS plastic as well.
And they don't want to use copper. It's expensive.
Oh, but it kills all the microbes.
I know.
And if they used it in the hospitals, they wouldn't have MRSA and all those things.
Know. We can go on and on and on and on. Yeah. It's all about saving a buck or making an extra buck or something like that.
That's what it is. It's making an extra buck.
But listen, folks, please, whether you buy it from Nature's Pure Organics or Brave New Books or wherever, you need to get you some of these new shower heads that ProPure has.
Yes.
They've gone that extra mile and give you extra protection.
As heard on the Alex Jones Show.
Well, and here's what I was reading about today was that, we were talking about how magnesium is taken up so well through your skin. Well, everything is taken up through your skin.
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, if you want to go to extreme, I've read lots of things that say don't touch anything you wouldn't put in your mouth. Because it's going to go right into your bloodstream. So,
why do you think they want people to work at these restaurants and places like that? Make sure you wash your hands before you go back to work. Because
I thought that was to keep poop out of my food.
Well, it's a lot of things that keeps from happening.
Well, I warned even about washing my hands in fluoride water and all the stuff that's in our water. And I don't know. I believe, does Austin have chloramine in our water? I believe we do. I know
they use hydrofluorosilicic acid, and I know when the InfoWars film crew got into one of the water treatment plants, it said toxic on the tanks.
Yeah, well,
the fluoride.
We know how bad the fluoride is and how what a huge effect it's having. And if your mom's having arthritis problems or some of the other symptoms are thyroid problems, cognitive problems, there's bone brittleness and that sort of thing that comes from
low level Prozac too. So it gets these kids addicted.
Yeah, makes you docile.
Yeah, well, it gets these kids addicted to psychotropics, and then they need a bigger fix. And so it actually encourages hyperactivity. So then these kids need a bigger fix. That means a prescription dosage of Prozac, which it's a never ending cycle.
Well, I know if I'm going to get my mom to filter her water, I'm going to have to get her the thing that goes on your refrigerator door, and I'm going to have to get her the thing that goes on your ice thing. But right now she's in New York, and I want her filtering her water right there by the Tritium in New York City. And so if you know anybody who's living in one of these areas that's having these problems, chloramine is apparently a really big problem. I went to chloramine.org today, and
funny thing about New York, they've been talking about, well, they're not talking about, but they've been building that third water tunnel for what, 30, 40 years?
And I don't think New York City takes their water from the Hudson.
They take it from these aqueducts upstate. And there's 2 tunnels which are 100 years old that they're afraid to shut off because they're afraid that the valves are so rusted and used because they're 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're building the third tunnel, but the third tunnel's been under construction since the 70s, and I think they've got like another 20 years before it's finished. So you have this tunnel that's going to be 50 years old before they even use the damn thing.
There's a few things you can do in the meantime until you get a shower head, and you need to go ahead and order them and pay for them ahead of time and get on the list to get them because everybody's buying them right now.
Oh, my gosh.
All over the country, people are desperate for them. So if you know somebody who needs one, call up Nature's Pure Organics and get your order in. Go ahead and pay and wait for it because that's the way that you get the next one coming.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I'll tell you, things that are good for you now, and people are realizing all these natural things that we need in our bodies. You know what? You have to wait for it because now everybody's beginning to realize it.
Yeah, get on the list and make sure that you've got all this ready for you too. University of Pittsburgh, Julian Andelman did a study on how we absorb it in the shower and the bath, and he says we really get most of the contaminants not from drinking it. We uptake it much more when we're in a hot shower because the heat in the shower and the steam in the air that you're breathing, and it liberates 50 to 80% of the dissolved chemicals into the air.
Well, just also the fact that you're going through a shower head, so it's actually making the drops really small, so it has more surface area with the atmosphere. So you're just breathing it in.
So he said that baths are only half as bad because a hot bath will have not as much surface area exposed to the air, and that you get about half as much. He recommends taking cold showers, which, okay.
It's easy for him to say.
Yeah, right. Cold showers, short. He says to close the door so you don't spread it through the house, but it seems to me like you'd want the door open unless you have a window you can open. If you could open a window to the outside, that'd be your best bet. And here's an interesting statement, and I'm not sure I understand how this works. Each doubling in shower time, so if your shower is twice as long, quadruples the dose of toxins that you get.
Well, it makes sense.
Maybe you uptake more as time goes on.
Well, you get that much volume of water.
Well, your skin heats up maybe and opens up pores more.
Well,
I would, because it seems like double would be double.
Yeah.
But apparently there's something going on there. And he said there's 3 kinds of these chloramines. There's mono, di, and trichloramine. And that they're only measuring the mono when they talk about the effects of it. But actually the dichloramine releases 3 times faster, and the trichloramine releases 300 times faster than the mono. So, of course, all their testing is on the mono. And if you want to read about it, they referred it to a PDF. It's called Chemicals in Drinking Water. And it's by the Scottish Center for Infection and Environmental Health. Scottish Center for Infection and Environmental Health, Chemicals in Drinking Water, and talks all about the chloramines. And then what you were talking about with Flint, it erodes the pipes, the lead pipes, and it starts putting lead in your water. And, the chlorine and the fluoride have a synergistic effect on each other.
They're both halogens, right?
Right. And then when you add the aluminum coming from the chemtrails, that's going to have a synergistic effect with the fluoride also. So we're just chemical experiments. It's a miracle any of us are live. Roaches have got nothing on us, boy. We're still here. We're so adaptable.
I don't know. I think they've been here a lot longer than us.
Yeah, well, I think
and then we also eat microwave food and irradiated food.
Yeah, I don't, but you do.
Well, actually, I don't.
You don't? You don't microwave?
No.
I'm so proud of you. But if you go
unless McDonald's microwaves.
Well, if you go to
what do you think they do with their burgers? They pre-cook those things and throw the meat in the microwave.
I thought they just sat under a heat lamp all day so the cockroaches can go eat it.
Oh, that's.
But anybody living, and I almost moved into a house recently that's more central Austin and completely surrounded by apartment complexes and condos. And I was thinking about the number of smart meters. There's a smart meter for every one of those condos. I was thinking about the number of Wi-Fi routers that are plugged in there. I was thinking about the number of cell phones that I'm surrounded by. And
the car's got transponders in them too.
And the clay and the zeolite actually help with removing that kind of radiation also. That it's and if you know anybody who's getting MRIs or getting their teeth worked on, where they're getting a bunch of X-rays, or if they've had a CAT scan, any of those things where they shoot. I just can't imagine why they think this is a good idea, but they shoot radioactive dye into your veins.
Yeah, it's called nuclear medicine.
So that they can then X-ray you or CAT scan you, I guess, or I'm not sure I understand it. But it always seemed like a bad idea to me.
It has a passive sensor, and what this dye does is it sticks to the bad stuff.
And so that's how they can see where the tumors are.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds to me like after that, I'd want to drink a bunch of clay too. And you do sell a clay that's already hydrated with your 3 times purified water.
Yeah, and that's tell you what, people really do like that because it's convenient, and
We're lazy.
We're lazy, sadly. In a perfect world, I'd rather just sell 100% of the powder, but there's always reasons for that. We have it available in a liquid form and in a hydrated form where it's a real moist clay, and you can take it internally or use it externally. But we take. We're coming up on a break again. So this is the Logos Radio Network. I am Gary Hanna.
I'm Leland Freeman.
I'm Nancy Reed.
We'll catch you at the break.
Call us at 512-646-1984.
You've probably heard of WikiLeaks, the website that's released lots of government documents. But have you heard of the granddaddy of leaks, Cryptome.org? I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, and I'll be back with more about how Cryptome holds governments and corporations accountable.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This public service announcement is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
The website Cryptome.org has been archiving leaked and whistleblower documents for over 14 years to keep governments and big business in check. Back in 2003, the site's owner, John Young, came to my rescue when my SpyChips co-author and I dug up explosive confidential documents. They told how businesses like Procter & Gamble planned to pacify consumers who would be outraged by RFID, a new tracking technology. The information was so scandalous, we were sure it would disappear the moment someone found out it was publicly accessible. We were also worried we might be accused of hacking. Cryptome came to our rescue, and the documents are still mirrored there today. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht. More news and information at CatherineAlbrecht.com.
Discounts are based on full roof replacement. May not actually be kidding about chemtrails.
Live Free Speech Radio, LogosRadioNetwork.com.
Guys, this evening is going by faster than any other time. It's
I get tripped up all the time on the Saturday show. Don't worry about it.
But, the 2 hours, it seems like sometimes 10 minutes.
I know. And
that's the time.
Good conversation during the breaks, too. We were just talking about mixing the clay. I've been mixing the clay. I used to use the dry clay. And I think it's economical. It's more economical.
It is.
And I don't have any problems. I use a Pyrex bowl and that has a rubber lid. It's probably plastic lid, but I've never touched that. It looks rubber, but what's the difference chemically, really?
Well,
how much better is rubber?
Put it this way: the only reason you've got that lid, you're not worried about it coming in contact with the clay.
Right.
What you're doing is keeping contamination from getting in the bowl.
Well, I think it's rubber, but anyway, I mix it in that, and I don't even have to mix it very much. I leave it with lots of lumps, and sometimes I don't even mix it at all. I just dump in clay and dump in water and put the lid on it and leave it for a day or two, and it's all completely evenly distributed with no lumps whatsoever. So this whole thing about having to put it in blenders and that kind of stuff, blender, of course, will ruin it with the metal blades, but it's not hard to mix, and now I'm learning how to mix different consistencies. Like I've got a one that's more of a gel consistency that I'm using on my face. Because it dries fast and I can do it before I wash my face and it's quicker. But when I'm doing it all over my body, I want it a little bit thicker than that.
A little bit thicker, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of, and also for injuries and mosquito bites, I want the thicker, the more clay, like you would mold things out of kind of clay.
Yeah.
And to go underneath bandages and that sort of thing on any kind of owie, it heals it up so much faster.
Oh, yeah.
So I have two different, consistencies, and then I just put the dry stuff directly into my water and have no problem. I stir it with a chopstick.
Yeah, it's based on time.
I have to swirl it a little bit at the end, to get the last little bit.
Of course, like I mentioned to you, what I have been doing is I put the clay in each jar and layer it so much at a time. Only problem is you do get some air pockets in there.
Do you?
Yeah, and you have to hit on the jar to get it, compressed. But I've come up with a new technique. I'll be sharing that with you all here pretty soon. I've got some. Whoa! What's that all?
That is our producer. Well, they're not hearing it on the air, but our producer is obviously using a coffee grinder. We can hear it through our talkback system.
Oh, okay. I wondered what that was.
Yeah. And when people listen to the archive, they're like, what are they talking about? There's a closed loop talkback system where we're able to hear our producer. You guys aren't, but yeah.
Well, I appreciate him drinking coffee this late at night just for us. Yeah. That's pretty swell of him.
But anyway,
I hope it's Nutri-Grain coffee from was it from Brave New Books? Enter Health actually sells some really good stuff.
So don't stress too much about mixing your clay properly. As long as you put good water in there and just cover it and leave it for a day, leave it for 2 days, it'll be completely even. I'm amazed by how it does that. Probably the magnetic charge makes it all separate from each other and spread out.
Like I told you, in a perfect world, Nancy, that's the way to do it because you're not affecting the charge at all. So when you have anything in motion, that's energy. And when you have energy, things either get more energy or less energy.
Oh,
in a particular
so you could discharge it a little bit by like whirling it in a blender or something.
If you do it with the metal blades, most definitely.
But
not just a little bit.
Okay, so a lot of people suggest that you put it, like I was putting it in a mason jar and shaking it.
I was thinking would vibrating it out with that, and what you do is you put the glass container on like a vibrating device, and would that get
a paint shaker?
Yeah,
or something?
It sounds good, but glass would break it.
And a paint shaker. Yeah, probably so. So you think it's better not to shake it or disturb it and let it sit and build its charge?
Let it build its charge.
And the longer it sits, the more charge it builds? Is that right? Or is it just to a point?
It just doesn't lose the charge.
I see.
I mean, think about it. You don't have to be a scientist or a mathematician to figure out that if you've got something that's moving, that's energy. It's either going to be positive energy or negative energy. And if you've got metal that's negative and you have clay that's negative, you are discharging the clay, and the full potential, it'd be like putting in a used battery.
Now, does stainless steel affect it the same way as other metals?
No. And of course that's ironic when they dig that out of the earth, they dig it out with stainless steel scoopers, but you got to realize very little parts of it touches that, and for a very minimal amount of time.
And there's some different property about stainless steel that's not quite as reactive with the clay as the other metals?
Well, it's just like what is the best water purifier container? Stainless steel.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and you don't have, of course, you know my feeling about plastic.
Yeah.
But folks, if you buy a Berkey and you own a Berkey, that's fine. I understand. Guess what? ProPure filters will work on them. And if you'd like a stainless steel spigot, you can buy those through ProPure, whether you get it from Brave New Books or Nature's Pure Organics. Please support us. We want to be here in the future for you. And only way can we do, there is no free rides, if you will. And the demands from our suppliers are getting to be higher and higher. And people say, well, how come you're out of this? It's because
they're out of it.
They're out.
Well, you were ahead of the curve on a lot of this stuff, and people are just now realizing everything that we're getting exposed to, and they're just starting to get hip to it. And you were just a little. So be aware. Be ready for the tsunami of people finding out how much radiation's in our atmosphere, and also just look at the candida overgrowth in this country. I think because of the antibiotics in the meat would be my guess. That it's killing our gut flora that would keep us balanced otherwise. But clay works on candida.
Yeah, works on everything.
Pretty much everything. I mean, I'm trying to find something it doesn't work on.
Of course, FDA doesn't want to hear that. The Department of Health.
It's just a food. It's not a drug. It's a food.
It's a dietary supplement.
It's a dietary supplement. And when you look at what they know, I was talking in the beginning of the show about the new dietary guidelines came out, and there's still 50% carbs and less than 30% fats. And they've known for quite a while now. This is on Mercola's site. If you go to Mercola.com, MERCOLA, it's the dietary guidelines. You think, well, I don't listen to what the government says about what to eat anyway. And people have said for a long time, the real nutritionists have said that their pyramid is upside down. But this determines what foods are served by the feeding assistance programs, what schools are in the what foods in the National Lunch Program, the programs for the elderly, the SNAP, the food stamp programs, and the military rations are all determined by this upside down pyramid that's giving people way too many carbs. And they say that affects 1 in 4 Americans. So a whole quarter of the country, the dietary guidelines for Americans is affecting. And it was written by one Senate staffer back in the 80s. And there's no name for the staffer either, but he went with high carb, low fat. And that has been linked to obesity and diabetes and many more health issues beyond that. There's a video called Big Fat Surprise. Maybe it's a book. It's an author. Her name is Nina T. Schultz, T-E-I-C-H-O-L-Z. T. Schultz. Big fat surprise. Why butter and meat and cheese belong in your diet. Well, I can't do cheese, but I do butter and meat.
Why can't you do cheese?
It's a dairy product.
So is butter?
I know she's down on
butters. I do butter. I didn't used to. But when I found out that the stuff I was using, the butter substitute I was using from the health food store had canola oil in it and GMO.
Well, there's a difference between cheese and cheese products.
Yeah.
Well, that's true too. And the thing for me that I've just with trial and error is that, and I seem to be okay with butter. Maybe there's a fermentation with butter or something. I'm not sure. But everything else, I will get sinus problems. I have allergies. In Austin, everybody has something that gets them. And mine seem to be mold and cedar and ragweed, which are very prevalent here. So if I stay off of dairy and stay off of wheat, I don't have to have my neti pot with me all the time.
So you can't eat an Alfredo pasta dish, can you?
I could if it's made out of buckwheat noodles.
Buckwheat noodles.
And if it's a Alfredo sauce made out of cashews instead of dairy.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if you've never tried buckwheat, you don't know what you're missing. I could eat it every day.
It's good stuff.
We're coming up on a break. Once again, Logos Radio Network. We have 15 more minutes, and we'll get you at the break. This is Logos Radio Network. I'm Gary Hanna.
I'm Leland Freeman.
I'm Nancy Reed.
And we'll catch you after the break.
Easy.
This is the Logos Radio Network, all of our wonderful affiliates, and our program is about your health, and that's what we're talking about. And here we are once again at the last 15 minutes of the program, actually a little bit less than that, but it's really been an honor we felt blessed to be able to bring you this information and freedom of speech. Folks, we don't know how important that is, and we've lost that. We've lost so many of our rights and our freedom, and we need to get them back regardless of what it takes to get there.
Yeah, I mean, look what they're doing on social media. You can basically tear Trump a new a-hole, but the fact is that if you criticize Hillary, your account gets suspended sometimes.
Oh, my. Well, this is what I'm loving about the Conspiracy Comedy Open Mic Nights on Thursdays from 7 to 9. Because this is one of the last bastions. The fool has always been able to tell the truth. You can tell the king the truth, and as long as you're funny, you might not get your head cut off. I actually wanted to call the show Off With Their Heads, and my daughters were against it. But
that's not their show.
I know. Maybe didn't like thinking about their mother getting her head cut off. I don't know. Maybe I should.
Well, that's why you need to get a gun or several.
And maybe they didn't understand
They get trained at Central Texas Gun Works.
They may not have understood the reference of off with their heads, But it is true that saying your truth and saying it, you find people in your life that you can talk to, dropping little seeds here and there with your friends and family does feel good. And it feels really good when you find a kindred spirit that even knows what you're talking about. What I have to be careful of, because you'd see how I am, if somebody opens up to me a little bit, I'm likely to just inundate them.
Oh, like your defensive driving class.
I'm likely to go, oh my God, they're listening to me. Why don't I download every little bit of information I can get into them until they shut down? And so, planting seeds is probably the better way.
I do recommend the fish and chips.
And then water those seeds. And on the water thing, we are made of water. We're big sacks of water. When you're born, you're about 80% water, like our producer's little baby. We just got to see pictures of. When you get down to 50% water, you die. 50% of your body being water. So when you talk about dried up old people, it's because old people are drying up. We don't have as much water in us. And we're 2/3 water, but when you look at the size of the molecules and all that stuff, it means that 99% of our molecules are water. And there's 4 stages of water, not 3. So, water is pretty miraculous stuff too. When you start looking at the properties.
Wait. Solid, liquid, gas. What's the 4th stage?
I didn't finish watching the video, so I didn't get to write it down. I have liquid, solid, vapor, and written here. And so
if you know the answer to the 4th, call in.
It's in between liquid and vapor, I believe. There's a state. And I've been also breathing the water. When I boil my filtered water for my coffee in the mornings, I've been breathing a little of that steam, not burning myself. But there's a lot of oxygen. That's distilled water, too. That's about the purest water you can get is steam, right?
Absolutely.
So that's probably why people do steam baths and go into the steam rooms.
Well, that's why they do the essential oils with these little misters.
So if you were to take yucky water and boil it, the steam off of that is going to be good and pure.
Let's say that one more time.
If you take yucky water and boil it, then the steam will be pure water.
Pretty darn close. There's been occasion, my son has to have distilled water every night, and you can, in a pinch, you can get pretty. You can't get it as good as distilled water, but boil your water, pour the top layer off, boil it again, and it'll be pretty darn close to distilled water.
Oh, I was just thinking about it, because distilling is where you collect the steam in a drip thing, like the old stills that
right. That's exactly what they are.
That my grandpa used to have.
Yeah, that's what mine is. Actually, I could make things like that out of my distill.
Oh, you could?
I could, absolutely.
I asked my grandpa, he was born in 1901. I said, tell me about being a bootlegger. He said, I was not a bootlegger. Who told you that? I said, everybody? He said, bootleggers drove the truck. I made fine whiskey.
Oh.
And he said that in the old days you would ride your horse home, and your horse knew its way home. It's not going to run into other horses just because you're drunk. He said the worst thing would happen to you, get on somebody else's horse, end up at their house.
Oh, so, I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll step back in time.
Nancy, can you actually get a DWI now, riding a horse?
No, well, there was a case that everybody sent me. I've been telling the grandfather story on stage. And so when I was living in Seattle, when a couple of guys got arrested on 6th Street, one was on a horse and one was on a mule. And they were drunk. They were falling down drunk. They didn't really, when you watch the video, even realize that they were talking to police or that they were in trouble or anything. They were just, and so they got a DWI originally, and then it got knocked down to a public intoxication charge. If you're operating a motor vehicle where you're operating it, that's one thing. If it's operating itself, I guess that's another thing.
It's a common occurrence to actually see people on horseback downtown around South Congress.
Well, and there's some guys that ride horses around town here. I don't think they're drunk guys, but I see them over on the east side quite a bit riding horses too. And in fact, I had a guy in my class that said that's not as good of a solution as it used to be. And my grandfather said you just tie yourself to your horse so it can't fall off. And then if you pass out, your buddy would throw you over and tie you on. And that's where tie one on comes from.
Oh, this is what's going to get really shady is these autonomous cars.
Yes. It is going to be.
Who's going to get the ticket?
Well, then you drunk dial your car. You go, dang it, I haven't lived here in 3 years. What am I doing here? I didn't mean to drive by your house over and over last night. I drunk dialed my car. But the horse is not the solution that it used to be. I mean, drinking is old and driving is new. It's really the driving that's the problem. But I had a guy in my class who lives near and I teach it, by the way, for Happy Time Defensive Driving. Come see me. It's a good class.
I recommend the Fish and Chips.
It's in such a pretty place, too.
And I recommend the Fish and Chips.
So at Joe's Crab Shack on Riverside.
Fish and Chips.
9 a.m. Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. But guy in my class said that he just moved here from Amish country, and they've had some wrecks because the Amish kids went out and got drunk and got in the buggy. And I was like, that's an even better idea, a buggy. And we're going home, and the horse does know its way home, but it doesn't stop for red lights and stop signs. So now with traffic out there, the horse is not the solution that it used to be. But I'm wondering, alcohol is sugar, right? Our body converts alcohol into sugar really fast.
That's correct.
And so this is part of probably the liver problems that we have with alcohol too. And more and more I'm finding that sugar is the maybe a root cause of many of our problems.
Most of our problems.
That's why you get fat by drinking alcohol?
Well, yeah, and sugar disables your immune system for 5 hours. Your white blood cells don't chomp through your blood like they should.
Okay, I'm going to make some people mad, but when you go to your restaurant tomorrow, cafeteria, and order coffee or tea, don't reach for one of those little colored bags that say diets, the yellow, the blue, the pink.
They have like all. I keep bringing samples whenever I go to a restaurant and be like, it has all these chemicals I had too many of those colored bags.
And
then you have the white bag. All it says is sugar, and the others have all this weird stuff about what's in it.
Well, and it's not the best sugar either. It's been bleached and processed.
What about the raw?
And all that kind of stuff. And raw may be a little bit better. I'm doing raw honey, and I keep trying to debunk that raw honey is good for your blood sugar. Apparently, it's good for your pancreas, and it's good for your. But I keep waiting to find out that's not true because it sounds too good to be true.
So like American Spirit cigarettes?
Yeah. I do smoke cigarettes too. Roll my own. But the sugar thing, if it disables your immune system and everything that's a simple starch turns into sugar, then this diet that they're proposing for us that's 50% carbs is going to disable people's immune systems. And, oh no, don't choke now. I have something important to say.
Well, that happened to me on Saturday.
Okay. When they test drugs, when they test pharmaceuticals, they test it against a sugar pill. So they act like they're testing it against something inert when they're actually testing it against something that disables your immune system for 5 hours.
So it artificially makes it look better?
Right.
Beautiful. How many people actually get the sugar pill?
It depends on the study, I guess. But yeah, you get the placebo. And the placebo effect, of course, our minds are very strong and have a huge influence over what's going on in our bodies. There's a lot more evidence now that there's brain cells in our hearts that we actually we do have from the bottom of our heart some wisdom going on there, and that you should follow your heart and that kind of thing. I know
if you spend too much time on Tinder, it gets broken.
The vibrational frequency from our heart reaches what we can measure, and that's just what we can measure. It reaches 60 times further than the vibrational frequency from your brain. But then there's the thing where thoughts can travel beyond the speed of light too. When you think about somebody and they know it, that kind of thing, all the psychic stuff, that's yet to be measured and explained. There's more to that. They say, Deepak Chopra says once two things have been in contact, they're always energetically connected.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
It's all about the energy. In with the good, out with the bad. That's what massage is about, that Reiki is about. It's just getting rid of all that bad energy. And it doesn't make sense. I understand what you're saying, Nancy. You would think positive would be the best result instead of negative. But unfortunately, that's just not the way nature provides it.
When somebody says don't be negative, say, oh, yes, be negative.
Yes. The more negative you are, the better chances you got a feeling. So, well, I'll tell you, we are nuts. You know, you have to be nuts to do what we do because...
Well, actually, isn't peanuts, aren't they a bean?
They're a legume. And the peanut allergies are coming from a peanut adjuvant, perhaps, in the vaccinations.
Thankfully, I don't have that.
Yeah. Now, folks, remember, nutrition comes from our soil, comes from vegetables. You can get it from nuts.
Us.
Walnuts, for example. You know, if you look at a walnut, it looks just like a brain, doesn't it?
Yep.
Guess what is one of the best things for your brain?
Walnut.
And for your liver.
Yep. And kidney beans look like kidneys?
That's absolutely. And, you know, I ate for the first time some chicken heart.
Broccoli and cauliflower look like lungs?
Yes. So, you see, they've given us all the pictures and all the signs. We just have to look at them.
And that's it for this week of About Your Health. If we survive Obama Apocalypse Part 1, I'll have Adam Brewer and Dave Pedersen on Be Brave Radio this coming Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. here on the Logos Radio Network. We will be back next week from 6 to 8 p.m. on Monday. Hopefully I'll be able to get that rabbi and we can talk about kosher beef. This is About Your Health. Stay tuned. Coming up next is Eddie Craig, Rule All Radio here on Logos Radio Network. I am Leland Freeman.
I'm Nancy Reed.
And I am Gary Hanna. The name of our program is
About Your Health.
And we'll catch you next week.